Welcome back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Amy Snell. She is a mom to 5 children. Her husband, Aaron, is the music teacher at Logos School. He also does music for the Fight, Laugh, Feast conference and is just an amazing, wonderful teacher. He can transform students to sing just amazing quality music. They've won all kinds of awards. She has taught pre-K and kindergarten at Logos in the past and is now a stay-at-home mom. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks for having me, Miss Bez.
And you might can tell by her accent that she's
I can't stop.
She's a fellow Arkansan.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You were born and raised?
Well, it was my first accent, that's for sure.
Okay.
I lived in Arkansas till I was 7 and then to California, but I used to go to Arkansas regularly to visit. I was there just a couple weeks ago. I'm going again in another week.
Still have family there?
Yes. And it's like every time I talk to any of them, it just comes right back. And every time I talk to Bess.
Every time
Here
you
it
go
comes.
down, you probably come back sounding really Southern.
Oh, I do.
And then you adapt and start sounding more
Western, West Coast.
more polished.
Yes, yes.
Then you head back to Arkansas.
I know. There it goes.
That's very fun. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so we've been in Moscow for about 5 years. You know, we're really involved in Logos. All of our kids have been going to Logos at least part-time. Before that, we were living in California. My husband was teaching in a public high school, teaching high school choir for about 15 years, I think. So now he's at the 20-year mark teaching, and that's been really fun. I taught kindergarten years ago before we had kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom. We homeschooled for 10 years and then kind of, hit some bumps, went through some transition. And so now we're here and our kids are older. So we're in a different phase of life. Our oldest has just finished his freshman year at NSA. So that's weird.
Which is New St. Andrews, the college or university here in town.
Right. Yeah. So he moved out last year, but is back for a couple months in between apartments, as they do when they're that age.
Yes,
so
it's fun to have him back home
it is. I love
while.
it. It's great.
Well, I know with 5 children, you're feeding a lot of mouths.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know you're hospitable. You invite people over. Tell us what you would serve to your family and a group of guests.
Yeah, I love having people over. It's one of my favorite things. I just get such a kick out of it. There was a recipe years ago when we were living in California that went around our church, our town, a few people. We lovingly call them Hall's balls because my friend Sherry Hall is the one where it came from. And actually it's from her sister-in-law. But anyways, I got it from Sherry. So these are like BBQ meatballs and they're baked and they're big. So you do 2-inch meatballs and they're covered in this barbecue sauce that you make. And the key ingredient is the liquid smoke in it. They are the most amazing, succulent, delicious things. Squishy,
but have I not had this in my life so far?
Well, it's coming. It's coming.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And we've done it a lot. And we get regularly, oh my gosh, I've got to have this recipe, so we're ready to share it.
So you have copies on standby.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, I take pictures of it and send it.
So what do you serve with the meatballs, the Hall's balls?
Yeah, well, always a potato of some sort, generally mashed potato and real creamy mashed potato. And then you can take the sauce that you make and it's real good on top of it. And I'm one of those arky folk that if you do corn with it, which you could, but I generally do green beans. But if you do corn with it, I like to take a fork of the meatball, stick it in the mashed potatoes and squish a little mashed potato on it and then dip it in the corn.
So you have a bite with everything layered on it.
Yes, it's so funny. So, if you need to go quick, just cans of corn in your Pyrex dish in the microwave is totally the way to go. We typically do green beans and I'll do fresh green beans. And a lady cooked them like this for me many years ago now. I was having some sort of health trouble. I don't know, amongst the many. Her name is Rosemary Giamara, and she came to my house, just kind of randomly showed up, started cooking in my kitchen. And she's like, I'm doing this for you. And she had this lady with her, and I didn't know who the lady was. She was like, you just need to rest. You just need to rest. And so she starts making these green beans, and she's Italian. And she boiled them, fresh green beans, just real short. So she said, they're al dente. We just got to make them al dente. And she's, tasting it and like snapping them with her teeth. And then she just after she drained them, she put olive oil, salt and pepper, and Parmesan. And that was it. On top of it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
They're delicious.
Oh my goodness. They are so good. And it's so easy. And when people come over and have them like that, they're like, what did you do to these green beans? Kids.
Top secret Italian recipe.
I know it's so silly, but kids that won't eat green beans, normally they will totally eat those. But, in a pinch, canned green beans, no shame. There's no shame in canned green beans. But the potatoes, I'll do different things. One of the mashed potatoes is like the main way, especially if it's winter, that kind of thing. Smooshed potatoes is
like smashed potatoes.
Yep. So it's probably the same kind of thing. I got this from Shay Elliott from Elliott Homestead. She lives in, I think, Wenatchee. She has this big podcast too. But it's baby red potatoes, and you boil them till they crack. Just enough. Mm-hmm. And then you put them in on a cookie sheet and smush them with the bottom of a mason jar or something like that to where they crack even more. Drizzle it with olive oil, salt and pepper, and maybe parsley or garlic salt, whatever you want to do. Bake them at 350 until they're crunchy on the top. To die for.
Sounds so easy.
It's so easy.
Delicious.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm a potato girl. Big time potato girl.
I love potatoes as a side, and everyone devours them. Children love them.
Oh yeah, my kids love these. Another option is you can, like, if you're in a hurry too, is to get, it's more expensive, but a special treat, or just if it's tight, time wise, just in the produce section where the potatoes are, the little bags of like fingerling potatoes, or like the little tiny ones, and they're pre-washed and ready to go. So all I got to do is I dump them in a bowl, get 2 or 3 bags of them, dump them in a bowl, and olive oil and salt and pepper, or garlic salt. Sometimes I could do that. And then roast them in the oven at 425 until they're crunchy on the outside. And it's that crunch on the outside and the soft on the inside. So it's
so good.
Really good. And then you got to dip it in the barbecue sauce. You have to dip it.
Do you make extra sauce, or does
I do? Sometimes I double it. Sometimes. Okay. Yeah, I totally do. This recipe makes a lot of meatballs. So it's like 3 pounds of ground beef. And so I do 2 13x9s. And then, sometimes we won't even get to the second one because they're so filling, even if we're having people over.
These freeze really well.
They do. And you would freeze them without the sauce. Years ago, I taught the freezer cooking, like once a month freezing. I did like women's conferences and stuff. And it's so silly.
Well, no, that actually is amazing.
Yeah.
I remember doing that years ago.
Oh yeah. And
reading through cookbooks that were freeze ahead, and then you plan to freeze ahead.
Yeah. I followed a gal years ago named Jessica Fisher, who still does things, just good, cheap eats. And so I learned a lot of it from her, and then I would teach it at, whatever events we were having at churches and stuff. So either once a month cooking, or just like how to freeze things ahead of time. So that is one of the really good things you can do with any meatball. You could actually freeze the sauce too in a separate, a mason jar or Ziploc. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And that is a real good key to, if you're, needing to think about this ahead or whatever, you can totally make them and then just defrost them in the pan the day of. Pour that sauce on top and bake them, and it's super easy.
It's super easy and an almost instant meal if you've done it ahead of time.
It's also
reheating.
Right. Yeah. And it's a good thing to do too. Like if you need to bring a meal to somebody else.
Oh, that would be such a great
ready to go
food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For somebody that just had a baby, or somebody with a health problem, or something like that would be so good.
Yeah. So another thing that we might serve with them, if I'm on top of things, is rolls or some sort of bread. I don't always do rolls or bread because it's just, I don't always have the time or energy to do that. So I have from the Magnolia Table cookbook, volume 2, she has these dinner rolls that are so good and so easy. And you butter them on the top after they're done, and then sprinkle the Maldon salt. which I just figured out what that is. I didn't even know what that was until I got this cookbook.
It is expensive, but if
you don't use much.
You don't use much. And if you kind of stash it away just for these special recipes where your family's not grabbing it every day for every thing,
right.
It will last a long time.
It does. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll make biscuits, just my granny's biscuits or angel biscuits from Arkansas. You know, they're so good.
Those are also really good.
Yeah. And another one that we'll do is Rachel Jankovic gave me her batter bread recipe.
Yes, it's so
And it's just like you dump it in the pan and bake it. I mean, you do let it rise. So it rises twice, but like barely. And you don't have to take time to shape any of it or anything. So it's so much easier to.
I think I have that one posted on my website.
Oh,
but
good.
I will definitely link it underneath yours.
Okay.
As well, because one thing I'm realizing, I don't know if I should say this on the podcast because now everybody's going to hold me to it, but a future project that I'm planning to be done with this summer, create a recipe index.
Yes,
Because
please.
How in the world, if somebody's recommending 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 recipes, the main title is the main dish, but they have a list of other fabulous things, side dishes, maybe a second main dish, maybe a multiple desserts.
Yeah.
There's all these really cool recipes, but nobody's going to remember that they're there. So, or if you do, if you're like, okay, somebody talked about these amazing chocolate chip cookies. Well, where do you even go? So
Right.
my goal is to create a recipe index where you can just look up desserts and see all the desserts that have been mentioned or, links to them.
Right.
To the page, or I'll figure it out. So anyway, pretty
That's
soon
fantastic.
we'll have categories that you can go to and find all the recipes, and then you can create your own menus or remember your favorites. But yes, the bread
Good
will
idea.
be underneath
Good idea.
your
Brilliant.
tab, your blog post.
Good.
Okay, so meatballs, potatoes,
Green
possibly
beans.
corn, green beans,
Maybe a roll or bread.
bread, and dessert.
Yeah. I am not good at thinking ahead at desserts. It's just like all I can think of, like as far as I can get is the meal. There's just it's a little too much sometimes for me. So I like to go kind of simple. So root beer floats, I think, is something that's super fun. And you just grab it and then you make them there on the spot. And what's kind of fun about them is you can get other things to mix together with them. So you could do cream soda, with caramel ice cream. And like, affogato style, just pour it on top and it's really good. Or get like it's so silly, cherry 7-Up or something and pour it over vanilla.
That'd be delicious.
Yeah. So it's kind of a twist on the root beer float. So you can do that.
And honestly, that's something everyone could do for themselves, except for tiny kids. But you wouldn't have to be standing over you could hand that off to a teenager.
You could. Yeah. And if you just want to make it really fun, you can get special straws or sprinkles for the top, just to kind of
cream, like an Italian cream soda or
so
something
just
like that.
Dress it up a little. And, we generally keep a box of the Ghirardelli's brownies from Costco on hand. It's like, why mess with perfection?
The triple chocolate.
Yes.
I've heard those recommended before.
Yeah. There's a reason for that. It's like, why would you want to make them homemade when they're perfect that way?
I actually, after hearing another guest recommend those, when my sister and I were at Costco, we picked up a box and split it because there's like
there's a bunch.
4 or 6. I don't remember. Separate little bags. I think it was 6.
Probably.
Of course, you use 2 if you're making a 13 by 9. I think one makes like an 8 by 8. But anyway, we split the box because we're like, there's no way we need all 6 for ourselves. And I recently made it when I had company over and did strawberries and whipped cream on the side.
Oh, smart.
And it was so delicious.
Yeah.
But it was so easy because I was looking for something really quick because I had made an entire meal. And then I'm like, I need to throw a dessert together, and just throwing those brownies in a pan was so easy.
Excellent.
So when you're preparing for company to come over, what is your best prep tip?
Well, I've said some of them, if you need to like, no shame in using the canned goods or whatever, things like that. I'm really into menu planning, and I'm kind of neurotic maybe about it. My husband makes fun of me because he says I make lists of my lists. But
well, you are very prepared.
I have before. Yeah, no lie. I've done that. But really menu planning ahead of time. And even like for me, it's helpful to see how it fits into my week and what I can do in the days before to kind of get it ready, and making sure that I'm not worrying and stressing about the meals that I'm doing during the week, so that I have that stress on top of, coming up with a meal for company.
Right. If you have company coming over and you've planned lots of very time-intensive gourmet meals for your own family early on to try out new things, that might be a lot if you're also planning an event later.
Exactly. And I have to kind of save up my energy. And so I have some health trouble that kind of sometimes makes hospitality more difficult. And few and far between these days. And it used to be a whole lot more, but my family is my primary ministry. And so I want to feed them first.
Mm-hmm. So you make sure you have energy to meet their needs.
Yes.
How do you, with managing health issues, how do you determine ahead of time when to do hospitality? Can you kind of tell when you're going to have energy for the end of the week? Or how do you know how much you can do and what your limits are?
Yeah, I'm a little up and down. I kind of have like flare-ups kind of thing. But the way that I do it is I just really have to manage my time really well. And I really do have to plan ahead. So it's much more difficult for me to just kind of on the fly and invite people over, although I do that still. But if I do that, we're not making a meal. I'm slicing up cheese and crackers, and we're going to get out corn dogs. As a matter of fact, one of our favorite memories, we had our good friends over on Halloween one night, and we were just kind of after school, and we were all tired. And I said, "I've got corn dogs. What do you have?" And she said, "I've got tater tots." And I said, "Okay, let's do it." And then we trick or treated together. It was the funnest night. I think it was our first Halloween in Moscow. It was just a blast.
And the kids thought it was the greatest menu ever.
Yeah. And we're like, let's do this every year. And I don't know, I think it was like goldfish. Like I had some apples. Let's slice these up, So I feel like you can make a meal out of anything on the fly, but it's like, I feel like there's the Holy Spirit prompting, to be honest with you. Like, we have this list of all these people that we want to have over. I can't do all the people. And my kids are always saying, like, can we have these ones over? And what about these ones? And I know I want to so badly too, but we've got to be really careful, and I got to think ahead. So for me, it's like, if I know that we're having company Saturday, I'll lay low for a couple of days beforehand. And I'm going to make sure that I'm not going crazy with the menu, and I'm going to ask for help. So I may say, okay, I'm going to do the meatballs and the rolls. Can you come up with the mashed potatoes and the veggie? And nobody says no to that. They just want to be together. Another favorite memory that we've got is we had somebody over for lunch after church one day, but it was kind of on the fly kind of thing. But I was kind of in a lot of pain that day, and it was the Beecham family. Mark had his back was messing with him that day, but we just wanted to be together. We just hung out all day long, like all afternoon. I was laid out on one couch, and he was laid out on another couch, and we just stayed there all day. His wife was with him, and Aaron's with me, and we just laughed and laughed, and then we ordered pizza. You just want to be together. But anyways,
That's great.
It's about being together. You want to be.
Doesn't matter if you're both down and hurting, laying on a couch, you're laughing, telling stories, and still having a great time visiting.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's really good friendships. Now, would you feel comfortable doing that with somebody that you don't really know super well? Probably not. Something I want to mention is when you have health issues, there's a lot of guilt that you can incur inside of yourself. And I would encourage ladies, if there's something going on, to trust the Lord with your health. And that includes your hospitality. Because if your push for hospitality is so much that it's really taxing your body, and it's making it to where you're not able to take care of your family, then it's actually unwise. It's not a good idea. Mm-hmm. By the same token, there are ways that you can push through it. Like I was saying, just order pizza, do something different. I have a friend who lives here who has a hard time doing hospitality in her house. And so she plans ahead of time to take certain people out for their birthdays, things like that. And it's precious. It's wonderful, but that is her hospitality. So there are just different ways to do it in different seasons of life. I mean, you might be pregnant and struggling and you're the one that needs the meal, and it's okay that sometimes we're not the ones, it's not our season to be bringing the meals. And I would say I'm kind of in between right now. Like I'm not bringing meals to people, but we're not having people over constantly. Our first couple of years here, we were having people over probably every weekend, like a lot. And then my health got worse. It got harder. And so we try to do like once a month and we really, really plan ahead so that I can plan my body ahead so that I can be prepared and I won't overdo it. I'm worn out after it's all done, but I'm asking my family to help me.
And you're probably taking advantage of some of those freezer meals that you taught so long ago.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm not quite ahead of the game to be able to get it quite there. I also think about how having family in town makes it to where you also need to be with your extended family too. So some of our Sabbath dinners are with them, and that takes out some time with having hospitality for friends, that kind of thing.
Do you do Sabbath dinner at your house always, or do you go to family members' homes?
It's at our house, yeah. And so we'll invite other Snells over to our house. I feel like the Lord just puts on my heart who then to include in something and having people over. Since we can't do everybody, I really have to pray a lot. Like, Lord, who is it that you want us to be with? And I'll say, Aaron, I really feel like we need to minister to these people. I really think that we need to spend some time with them. And they may not have been on the top of the list previously, but there's something that makes me be like, oh, I think it's them. We need to do that. And so it's really trusting the Lord and kind of just obeying those promptings that you get of the Holy Spirit. And different things, like there will be music things. People will come in from other parts of the country and we'll host them. So that becomes a priority, And so we do spend time with people that way. And it's sometimes people we don't know or people just don't know very well.
Because your husband does music camps in the summertime.
Yeah.
As well as other events, I'm sure.
He does a lot.
Concerts and things like that.
Yeah. So a lot of people are coming here to learn music or to do music. And so that is our calling in a lot of ways. God has put us in that position and it's fantastic. So I just have to know ahead of time, like in July, there's going to be 3 weeks in a row that he's got serious music stuff. So he may say, we're going to have this person over for dinner, but we're going to plan it a little bit ahead, a little bit. And I love it. Gosh, I love it. I would have people over constantly. And so this has been a tough thing for me because I am really
You're a very social person.
I am. I'm a people person. I want them around like a lot of the time. I've had a tendency to be energized by being around people. As I've gotten more of my health issues, that's been harder. So it wears me out a little bit more than it used to. But it's like, that's still me. That is still like maybe a gifting that he's given me.
Well, you've made such a great point about trusting God with the trial he's given you right now, because when you say that it is me, you're right. God did give you a very open, hospitable, friendly personality, but for whatever reason that we may never know fully, probably will never know fully, for whatever reason, he's limiting that.
Yeah.
So for you to truly trust in him and not feel guilt over not being how you used to be whenever you had full health is a great testimony. It really is a great encouragement because we do have to trust God with our trials.
We do. And, a really good friend of mine years ago, my mom had passed away and I just was like, I'm sorry, I cry every time I'm with you, and she told me something that really has impacted me a lot. And she said, your trial is not just for you. Your trial is for me. And I am called to be a part of this trial. So I thought about that so many times. Like there's been a lot in our lives, and just remembering that the Lord is using this for the building up of his body in other areas too. So that's kind of released me from a lot of the guilt. Like, no, this is his purpose, not just in me and my family, but in the people that are around me. Sometimes I'm the one that needs to be ministered to, and that's tough because
very tough.
Yeah, I don't want to be that person.
You don't want to have the meals brought to you. You want to be the one taking the meals. You don't want to be on the prayer list. You want to be praying for other people.
Yeah.
I had a pastor years ago who preached a sermon. I believe it was Randy Booth. I actually had his wife on a podcast recently. he did a sermon that really spoke to my personality. Yeah. And the main takeaway was this blessing is not just for you, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And one of the main phrases he used was, when people are trying to minister to you, say bring you a meal or help you in some way, you need to recognize that by saying no, you might be taking that blessing away from them.
Yes.
And so the phrase that we used, or maybe he even came up with in the sermon, was, don't take this blessing away from me. Mm-hmm. So if I have a friend that's saying, oh no, that's, no, I couldn't put you out. I don't want to bother. No. Don't take this blessing from me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I say. And I say it in a cheerful way, but it's not about you. You're taking away a blessing from me by not letting me bring you dinner.
Yes.
Or letting me bring you whatever it is they need.
Well, you think about what a joy on our part it is when we have been the one to, somebody's in the hospital and you say, I'll keep your kids. We'll stick them in whatever room we can. And you love being a part of that. It brings you so much joy, and it actually is a binder, I think, that binds you closer to the people that you're ministering to. This is just how the body of Christ works.
It does grow you closer with that person.
It does. It creates this sweet history between you and them.
Because you're allowed to go into and enter into their trial, and be a part of it with them.
Yes. And it's a joy
for both people.
It is. And so I, with regard to having people over, then it's like, okay, it is what it is. and we rejoice and we praise the Lord. And then I can praise the Lord for when I do get to have people over. It's really special. I have a blast, and it's worth the work that it takes. And it actually has been really sweet with my kids. Like they'll see me trying to work and I'm having a hard time standing up. My back's collapsing, and they'll go, "Oh, Mom, let me do it." And so it's good for my family. Like, no, don't you do that, Mom. You go lay down for a minute,
And they jump in and they want to help.
Yeah. And we've done it enough that they all know their roles, who's gonna put the table together or whatever. So I still have to guide them from the couch, which sometimes is harder to do than just to get up and do it myself.
Right. But how many boys and how many girls?
We have 3 boys and 2 girls.
Okay. So a bit of a mix. That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. So they're kind of funny.
So fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is your best advice for showing warm hospitality to those coming into your home? How do you make them feel welcome?
Yeah, I think for me, lots of eye contact right off the bat. When they come in, you're going to the door. Like if you're the woman in the kitchen and you're still cooking, it's not quite done, you don't stay there. Yeah, I mean, you can pop out just for a second to go greet them, pull them farther into the house and make sure that they are then the focus. And that's kind of hard because when you're finishing the things up, you're like, okay, what did I just do? And oh gosh, I let the bacon fry too long. Whatever it is, it's black. But realistically, that is less important than looking them in the eye and making sure that they know that you want them here and they're not intruding upon your family time or anything like that. They are a part of the thing that is happening right now.
Even if you have to pull them into the kitchen with you.
Yeah. Well, in the way that our house is set up. Yeah. Just kind of the way that we fit into the house too. So we don't have a whole lot of space where we are. So we have to drag them towards the kitchen so that they have a place to go, actually. Yeah. So, and I also I'm big on lighting. I think lighting is a big, big deal anywhere you go. And, kind of like less overhead lighting, more kind of lamp lighting kind of thing. Not dim. I don't like it dim either, but just cozy, cozy light. I have a little sweet milk glass lamp that is in my bathroom upstairs that is kind of the guest bathroom. And I like to turn that on if it's nighttime and then just leave it on. And it's just it's easy for people to find the bathroom, because the little light is on.
It's similar to a night light or
something. But it's just a beautiful vintage lamp, just really, really cute. My class got it for me.
Where did you find this?
Yeah. I have a friend named Christina Atwood who looks for milk glass for me because she knows that it's an obsession. I have a problem.
Did you create the lamp?
Oh no, it was
already done.
It's just a vintage lamp that she found, and she was my room mom at the time, so That was the end of the year gift or something, I
That's
think.
so fun.
I love it.
So sweet and very thoughtful.
I know.
To know your taste that well.
Yeah, she's
Know
good.
This particular, what was it called?
Milk glass.
Milk glass.
Yeah.
Lamp would be the thing that you would treasure for years.
Oh gosh, I love it.
love
And I'm a
that.
candle girl too. So I always want candles in the bathroom and, candles on the table if I can.
What's your favorite brand? Do you have one?
Of candles, I tend to just like whatever Marshall's has, I really like beeswax candles too. I like the way some of them burn. Sometimes they don't turn out super great, but they're just classy, I think.
And they always make the bathroom smell a bit better.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Important. Yes.
Important to have a nice smelling bathroom.
Yeah. Excellent.
What is your must-have kitchen item?
Okay, so I have this pile of stuff sitting on the table right here between Bess and and I realized how much Pampered Chef I own. Oh my goodness.
That was the company back in the day. Is it still around where you can order online, or is it gone?
It is. And I looked it up yesterday because I was like, well, if I'm going to recommend this thing, I need to know that it's actually purchasable somewhere. So Pampered Chef has had to keep up with the times. And so not just doing parties, to sell their stuff because I don't want to.
Do young people even know what that is? Do
I don't
they even
know.
do parties anymore? Back in our day, this really dates us, but people they sold kind of like Tupperware or Mary Kay or something like that. If you've ever heard of
I
Avon.
sold Jafra makeup when I was like 19. And then I sold Party Light candles.
This was the
when we were
fancy
in
California
college.
stuff.
It was California. Yeah.
Okay. Mine was the typical Avon,
Yeah.
Tupperware. There was some kind of jewelry. I don't know, but people
31
would sign
did
on
like that.
and do they would
the
receive
pyramid.
discounts themselves.
Yes. It's so funny.
Which made you want to buy all the things if you were the seller, but you would host parties for your friends either in your home or their home. And they would purchase things, and as much as they purchased, it would give you
discounts, half price
or
items,
free things, or what.
And I look back on that, I'm like, why did I do that? I was trying to convince a friend of mine 23 years ago, probably to sell Party Light with me. And her husband is like, no, because that turns all your personal relationships into selling relationships. And that convicted me so much. And I was like, okay. He's right.
And a lot of
I'm
times
done.
you have to buy into
you do and
something. And
it's just silly.
Kind of a startup cost, which I guess if that was your passion and love, but it was.
And I do love candles. It's true. I do. Pampered Chef. I had a party, I don't know, 16 or 17 years ago, and it was gigantic. And it was, Pampered Chef was one of those things that like, oh yeah, I need this, so I'm going to go to that party, and then they see more, and then they want to do more, because we were still doing parties back then. It was like a $1,200 show. So I got tons of stuff. So
That is so fun.
It was great. It was so fun. And so I got tons of kitchen tools, and then I used my half price items to get the expensive stuff, so some stoneware and different things. But it's so funny. My favorite tool in my entire kitchen is this little white, small mix and chop. No, what's it called? Mix and scraper. Okay. So it's a spatula. Spatula City, like if anybody knows UHF. So it's like a spoonula. I've heard it called that kind of thing before. It's rubber, but it's, like a batter spoon kind of thing, but it's, curved on all four sides.
And it's not flat. And the middle has a concave.
Yes.
Portion.
Yeah. So like you can get every last drop of everything out of everything. And they have 3 different sizes of it. This is the one that I use the most. It's the small one, but then they also have the regular one is actually big, and I don't own it, but I have the mini one, and it's like out of the jelly jar, you can get the last. I'm scraping the curves of the jelly jar, trying to get it all out. But this thing, like I scrambled eggs, pancakes, I can make extra pancakes because I have this magical little tool, because I can get every last drop
of batter.
Yeah, I can make another pancake because of this thing. So
waste not, want not.
That's right. It has taken us far in life. And then also from Pampered Chef, I have a metal spatula, and it is just called the large serving spatula. And It almost acts like a bench scraper, like the tip, the end of it. It's got a black handle, but then the rest of it's metal. But Aaron last night cracked me up because I'm just doing dishes and he goes, "This is the best tool in the whole kitchen." And I went, "What?" I'm going to say that on the podcast tomorrow. But he's obsessive about we have a, glass top, electric stove, which is not my fave, but it does the job, but stuff gets stuck on it. And he is obsessive about getting the crunchies off, and so he uses my spatula to scrape it all off, and it doesn't scratch the glass. It's perfect. But of course that is not its main purpose in life.
But it's multi-purpose.
But it is multi-purpose.
It looks like it could be a scraper. I love the thin edge to it because
and you can scrape from the side,
yes,
and it's actually
if you're trying to do
angled.
pancakes or anything where you need it to flip, that would be ideal. I have used spatulas and thrown them away, or maybe donated them, that are fat on the edge.
No me gusta.
They're useless.
No,
you cannot even get under a pancake. So that thin,
and it gets the batter all over the thing, and then you can't flip any of them.
Yeah, no.
It's no good.
I can tell. I would really like that. It also looks like it'd be great for serving, like for cakes.
It's fantastic for cakes,
or
lasagna,
or lasagna,
like anything that's going to stick
in a big pan. I could picture that being a good server.
Yeah, and it goes in on the sides really well. You kind of need 3 or 4 of them just because. I actually found. I was like, I need another one. And so, but I was kind of looking around town just to find something cheaper because Pampered Chef is not inexpensive. And so at Winco, I found this other one that was $4 and it was this, but a little shorter. It's pretty cool, but doesn't have this flat edge, at the top. So
doesn't work as well.
It's okay, but I might spend the money and get some updated Pampered Chef stuff, And I've got, of course, I think somebody else has mentioned the mix and chop, which you use to break up ground beef, that kind of thing. I just love tools. I just think they're the funnest. And I'm not one to have lots of tools that are like, have a single, like an avocado scoop. Really? Why use a spoon? I mean, that's
if you have something exactly like
that is so silly to me. Like Pampered Chef has a citrus peeler. And I'm like, no, just peel your orange, please. Just peel your orange or just slice it. It's not that hard. So I'm kind of funny about that, but I also love their stoneware. I have 2 13x9s and they just bake stuff beautifully. It's just perfect. So.
And all of this can be purchased online.
You can, yeah.
I'll put the link.
You don't have to have a party or go through a host or anything. You just buy it. I tried, I didn't actually purchase last night, but I was looking at the website so you can actually do it. So you can find these things.
Yes, that's really
But you get carried away and you're like, oh, one more.
I need this tool, but I need this tool as well.
Yes, I need some updating is what it is. It has been 16 years or whatever since I purchased these things.
A couple more tools.
But that also tells you how long they last. I mean, they last a long time.
They look in great shape to me. I mean, I can't tell that there's anything wrong with them, and you've had them 16 years.
I do have 2 of these mix and scrapers, and they're rubber, and one of them got cut. And so, but it's still like it's cut and it's not peeling, and so I can still use it if I'm careful not to, have that part separate. So it's kind of amazing. It's like, why is this stuff such high quality? It's really great.
Well, which, if you're paying a little bit more, it's good to know that it's high enough quality. You're not going to be replacing it every few years.
No, definitely not. Now I do have to say I bought their knives with my 50% off, and they didn't last. And I even had them professionally sharpened to different things and it just didn't work. And I know that you can somebody's going to call in and say, don't you know that there's a lifetime warranty on those knives?
Did you return them?
No, I can't find any of my, how do you need a receipt? Like, I don't know.
Well,
that sounds like a pain.
If it's lifetime warranty, why would you have to have a receipt?
I don't know.
I would just
that is a good
call
question.
the company and say, hey, can I return these? They won't stay sharp or whatever.
Yeah.
Because if it's a lifetime, then I don't know. Maybe they do require proof. I have no idea.
But I want to
try.
I want to, be copycat and get the knives that have been mentioned on here. Like Sarah Mortimer mentioned that whatever awesome knife that she bought and she loved. But what I've been doing the last few years, this is so silly, at Costco, and you can get them on Amazon too, the Cuisinart set of knives that have little sheaths on them. They're like $15 and there's a chef's knife in the Santoku. And I'm like, well, good grief. I could just buy that set every year and I'd still not be paying the same amount of money that I'd be paying for this other thing. Right. And when you open it out of the package, it is sharp.
It is sharp. Yes. So true.
Anyway.
So what are you? She has 2 more tools here, guys.
I don't have to show all my tools.
I want to know what these other 2 are.
Well, I just was, as I was doing this, I was like, wow, I had no idea how much junk I had of all these Pampered Chef things. This thing that I am holding is called a Measure All cup. And I'll just show Bess. It's got a dry side and a solid side. And it's like a tube inside a tube, and you slide it down and you slide it to where the measurement is. And it's like in the
You said a dry
cavern.
side and a solid side. You mean a dry side and a liquid side?
That's what I meant. Yep.
I'm staring at the side that says liquid is white.
Okay, so you're reading it and I'm just not paying attention. But like if it's peanut butter or shortening or something that's like hard to really measure out, and then to get it all out of the thing, you just go pop. And it pushes right
out the middle part.
Yes.
It pushes every last drop.
Yes. And then you just use the mix and scraper to get all of the rest of it off into your bowl.
I'm sold.
I know. And there's different sizes
Maybe
of these.
You need to go back to having parties.
I know. Well, they have teeny tiny ones too. So, and then I don't even think they have this spoon thing anymore. It's the same idea as that, so that you can, if you're measuring out 2 tablespoons of honey, this thing looks like a spoon. It's 2 parts. I don't know. It looks like it'd be in a hospital or something.
I've never seen that
So
before.
you put it in there, and then you measure it out where this little slider part is, and then you go pop, and the 2 tablespoons or whatever comes out. So
that is so interesting.
this one is starting to get old. The rubber on it is wearing away, but it's same idea.
Is that
I
one on
couldn't
the
find
website?
it last night, so I think that they might have transitioned to this
Just the
Measure All cup,
cups.
but different sizes of it. So that's probably what I need to get next. So I'm not like, I don't know much about like the philosophy of Pampered Chef or anything. So I want to be careful as I'm like, buy Pampered Chef everything. You don't have to buy
But they
Pampered
do
Chef.
have a lot of great tools, it looks like. And honestly, tools of the trade for women, we are in the kitchen a lot.
A lot.
So to invest in some really great tools that you're going to use every single day, I think it's worth it.
I think so. And good serving spoons. Serving spoons are a big deal. I don't want to flop like this, plastic thing that
You don't want to
the
put
spoon flops back.
What is this? The
Mix and scraper. Don't use that to serve.
Don't use that to serve.
No, use it to make your pancakes.
So back to hospitality.
Okay,
You have
sorry.
a story. This is all tools of the trade of hospitality for your family and otherwise. But in all of your years of having people over, do you have a story that you would like to share?
I don't know. I kept thinking about that. We've had so many people over in like big groups. I was thinking about like the first time, like when we were young married. I think we've been married 2 years probably, but we lived 3 hours away from our family. So Aaron's parents and his brother were coming down to have Thanksgiving with us. And so I was like, I think I was 21 maybe. And I was making the turkey and I got the stomach flu, like bad, got the stomach flu, and I couldn't be inside the house at all because the smell of the turkey roasting was making me so sick. And actually we've had 2 Thanksgivings like that, believe it or not. We were having tons of people over for one Thanksgiving, and I got not stomach flu, but what the other kind of flu. I mean, I was
like high fever.
Yeah. I was so sick. And so why does that keep happening?
Like when you're like that as an adult, for a child, it's miserable too, but adults, it seems just fever wipes me out.
Oh yeah. It's pretty killer.
Miserable.
I was drinking what is it called? Theraflu, just knock me out. Just kill me now. And then it's just that it makes me feel better when other people get sick. Just kidding. We were having some friends over a couple winters ago, and it was like snow and like ice. It was real deep snow. And I think it was in January that we had them over, and they have a big family, lots and lots of kids. We were having the time of our lives, and they had a baby and they were almost out of formula, and they knew they had to go get gas on the way home. Our goodbye, he turned on the car because it was so cold outside, turned on the car and left it running. And we all forgot that the car was running, and they totally ran out of gas. in our driveway. It was the funniest thing. And we're like, well, I guess you got to stay here. And then, bless their hearts, I don't even remember how we got gas. I want to say Aaron had like a can of gas for the lawnmower or something. So they're like, we can make it to the gas station. It was literally because we forgot the car was running, and it was a long time. And then they're like, finally, okay, kids, gather up the kids, let's go. And which, takes a long time when you have, I think it was 8 kids. One of them got outside on the porch with ice all over and threw up all over the porch. I mean, it was the funniest thing. We're like,
immediately.
Oh my goodness. And you can't use the water hose. You can't squirt it off. So I think we got hot water in buckets or something, like poured it off. But I was thinking, okay, so I'm not the only person that has gotten sick but we just had the time of our lives though. So you know who you are if you're listening to this episode. I'm not going to name
not going to call your child out by name.
No, but I will say that my child has also initiated somebody else's house with vomit before it was even complete being built. So under the floor is, a memoir of Leah.
I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but that actually happened at my sister's house. It's been a few months ago, but there was a visiting family in town, and right before the meal, the little girl, one of their little girls, we heard her call, it sounded like she was calling mama or something. She'd gone up the stairs to this landing that had some play stuff on it, and she was walking down, and as she's walking down, she's throwing up on every single stair all the way down.
Was it carpet?
No. Oh, thankfully.
Thank God.
I hadn't thought of that, but that was a reason to be thankful.
Yes.
It was not carpet. But, just in that moment, I'm sure her parents were just horrified. They're at someone's house they had never met. I mean, we didn't know them at all. My son, who was in college, knew them and had invited them. And so it was this young couple and a couple of small children. So, and we were
that's
just
so hard for them.
ready to say, time to eat. So anyway, it's
poor things.
Great
they're like, we got to go.
Yeah. God in those moments just wants you to smile and laugh and
Oh, totally.
Oh,
totally. And there we go again. Our trial is not just for us, it's for somebody else. And that little girl's trial was for everybody.
Was meant for everybody.
Yes.
To just smile and put dinner on the back burner and let's just all pitch in and figure out how we can help this little girl and get the stairs clean.
Yeah. Poor baby. It's so hard.
Yeah. So those are fun times.
Yeah.
And who can help it? I mean, it's kind of like
when it's coming, it's coming.
No one could have predicted that she was going to be sick or that your child would be sick or whatever.
When Leah threw up, it was at the Sumter's house. I'll just say it out loud like that. They were building the house, and we were over there. We were over there having like cheese and crackers and with like the whatever.
Cheese, crackers, and wine.
We did. Actually, it was so funny. And she kept having to go out to the porta potty, and it was like 3 feet of snow. And I was like, Leah, why do you keep having to go out the porta potty? She's like, I don't know. My tummy hurts. But then at one point she goes, it's time. And she started walking towards the door, and there's a drop, there's not even stairs yet. And she just threw up all over. It's like half floor and half subfloor, it was so funny. So we have jokes about every time we go over to their house. Like, Leah, you okay? How's your head? How's your tummy? You going to be all right?
Do you need to go to the porta potty?
Yes.
Because if so, maybe we shouldn't leave the house.
Like, sorry. Yeah, that's my kid that did that.
Such fun times.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Teaches the parents things and the host, and like we said, everyone involved.
Yeah,
has to jump forward with a great attitude.
It is. Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today and for taking the time and pushing through any health hardships. I know
it's
a lot
great.
of times you're in pain and or low energy. So I really appreciate you coming and sharing a little bit about that, how you push through, how you do recognize your limitations and accept those, as well as trust God to work through you and in the time you do have to spend ministering to other people. So such a great encouragement. Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much for having me. Super fun.
Until next time, bye for now.